What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on FantasyPros with a 12-team full PPR mock where we will be selecting 10th overall. Should be pretty interesting. Our roster, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. But that's pretty much it. So let's kick this thing off. And while we wait, a quick reminder, if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let us get into this thing. And let's quickly pull up the draft board here and see what has taken place so far, who we missed out on, who we have available to us. The first pick overall, Christian McCaffrey, no shocker there, followed by CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek, Amon-Ra. I like to see Amon-Ra getting some love. Jamar Chase, then Bijan before Breece Hall. I have it the other way around, but that's just me. Then Justin Jefferson at the 107, Breece at the 108, and Puka Nacua at the 109. So nothing really crazy here, pretty standard stuff. And I think we're actually in a pretty good spot to land at least a duo that we are pretty high on with these first 2 picks that we have. Now, I do think that there is a drop-off at the wide receiver position here quicker than there is at the running backs. So for that reason, I will select a wide receiver first because at least, we can maybe be considering Taylor, Gibbs, Barkley, hopefully in the second round, one of those two. I'm assuming AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson will be selected. So for that reason, I'm going to go with one of these 2 wide receivers. I personally like Garrett Wilson more, especially in full PPR leagues. Again, he is obviously tied to the health of one Aaron Rodgers, but all signs point towards a good situation there. So I'm going to continue to invest stock in Garrett Wilson, and then let's see what happens here, if we got lucky or not. So wow, okay, we did get lucky. And the reason I say that is because there was a run on the running backs and 3 straight running backs, and we read off 3 names. We read off Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Saquon Barkley. However, the third running back to be drafted was not Barkley. It was Kyren Williams of the LA Rams. And I am ecstatic because I think Saquon Barkley, you could argue having him right after Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson, and definitely over Kyren Williams, in my opinion, where to me there's more question marks there than, there are with Barkley, for sure. And especially after the drafting of Blake Corum, you could convince me have Travis Etienne ranked ahead of Kyren Williams, for example. So here we do get lucky. And, Saquon Barkley is there for us. He is the easy pick, so let's not waste any time. We get the 1-2 punch that we were hoping for. We get a high-end wide receiver, and we get a high-end running back. Now, this is really where the draft is going to start for us, in my opinion. After the Saquon Barkley selection, Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Chris Olave. Okay, again, Marvin Harrison, I still believe is ranked way too high. There's some other options I would prefer, namely some of the guys drafted right after him here in London Olave. A-Chain for the Miami Dolphins drafted afterwards before Travis Etienne. Wow. Before Rachaad White. Pretty crazy in my opinion. I would have, definitely loved to have landed Rachaad White at the 310, so good value there. But, pointing out other things at the start of the 3rd round, Josh Allen, then Josh Jacobs, Sam Laporta, first tight end off the board, followed by DJ Moore, then James Cook, then Deebo Samuel, Pacheco, Nico Collins, Rachaad White. So this mock draft has been a little bit strange, I would say, with the running backs and the order they have gone. And that's the main thing that jumps off at me here. And look, to some extent, I get it. It hasn't been anything completely bananas. Everyone's going to have slightly different running back rankings, but, there have been ones that have been worth calling out. Now here, as far as running backs are concerned, I'm looking at the names: Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones. I would like to land one of those guys. Wide receiver, I say it every time, it is much deeper with the wide receivers than it is at the running backs. So here, Evans, Waddle, Diggs, Cooper Kupp, one of those guys will fall to us. So I think it makes a lot of sense here to go with a running back. And I'm going to go with the PPR guy, and Alvin Kamara, who, despite missing multiple games last year due to suspension, was still very formidable as a starter for you. Touchdowns weren't necessarily there, but I think when you spread it out through an entirety of the season, especially his pass catching ability in PPR, full PPR, is going to make up for that. So I am leaning Alvin Kamara here. The tight ends, Kelsey, McBride, I would say Kelsey ahead of McBride, are also in play. But from what I've seen in previous mock drafts that we've done, again, every single mock draft has its own different type of flavor, if you will. But typically, there isn't another tight end run until somewhere in the middle of the 5th round. So let's see if that's the case here. I'm going to try and bank on that, and I'm going to draft Alvin Kamara with this next selection. So let's go Alvin Kamara as our number 2 running back. And then there's actually all those running backs that we mentioned still on the board, but I'm not really sweating that because, it was pretty much between Alvin Kamara and maybe Kelsey. But again, I'd rather see when the next tight end run occurs. After a Kamara pick, Hurts, Evans, Kelsey, and Stephon Diggs. So guys that are still available, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, both guys that I really like. Joe Mixon also potentially. I'm going to wait on Trey McBride in general. Going to wait on that tight end run. So I think I'm just going to go with Jalen Waddle here and, secure a young wide receiver that has been very successful, plays opposite Tyreek Hill, and in a high-octane offense. I've selected a lot of Cooper Kupp, so, kind of switching it up here, but I think Cooper Kupp would also be an excellent, excellent choice. I like the value on Jalen Waddle, though, so let's go with Waddle, and then I will be very curious to see where some of these other high-end wide receivers go, where some of these tight ends that I have ranked a little bit higher are also being selected. So after our Jalen Waddle pick, you see Joe Mixon, no surprise there. Malik Neighbors, he's getting closer and closer to Marvin Harrison for what it's worth, which I always said that, they should be closer in ADP. So Neighbors is still unquestionably, in my opinion, the better value. Devonta Smith, then DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, so some of those other running backs starting to go as well. Cooper Kupp, he finally goes. Good value for him. Trey McBride. So the next tight end, almost a full round after Travis Kelce, Amari Cooper, Zay Flowers, Patrick Mahomes. I do like the value on Patrick Mahomes there in the 5th round. Montgomery, Lamar Jackson. In a lot of drafts, I had seen Mahomes recently be selected after Lamar, maybe even after a CJ Stroud. So I more so agree with what we have going on here. Then after Lamar, Tank Dell, Keenan Allen, Dalton Kincaid, CJ Stroud, and T. Higgins. Now, I believe one Mark Andrews is still available to us if we want to go in that direction. We need a pass catcher, and, he's essentially a low-end, high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 at the tight end position. I'm looking at these other running backs. Nothing that I particularly am in love with. Zamir White is somebody that's interesting, but I think I can get him in another round later. So maybe going to Mark Andrews here and then going with like a McLaurin or a George Pickens afterwards. Also a possibility. So let's go with Mark Andrews. I think he is, at this point in time, a decent value. So we grab Mark Andrews, and then Terry McLaurin and Christian Kirk were drafted. So I already have Saquon Barkley. I already have Alvin Kamara. As far as the wide receiver depth is concerned here, I do think it takes a little bit of a hit after George Pickens. And George Pickens, to me, I think I've said this before, is in store for a breakout season. So I'm a big believer in him. I'm going to nab him now. I know that's going to cost us somebody like a, Zamir White at the running back position, but it is what it is. And, we move on. I think George Pickens, I can't ignore the breakout potential there. So let's see how many wide receivers were drafted. Wow, only one wide receiver after our George Pickens pick. So a couple things stand out. Maybe, you know, but no, I think Pickens would have been drafted at least at the Rome Odunze slot. So uh, I can't get too mad about that. Also, the run on the tight ends. It occurred. Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Evan Ingram. So there was some validity to our selecting Mark Andrews where we did. Also, some quarterbacks: Anthony Richardson, Dak, Kyler Murray, then Jordan Love and Caleb Williams in the 7th round. Caleb Williams starting to go higher. But I've said this before. I'm perfectly content unless a Patrick Mahomes drops to me like in the 5th or 6th round, something like that, waiting on the quarterback position. And then a lot of running backs, right? James Conner, Zamir White, who I said I like for him to drop to me, but I knew that wouldn't be the case. But I'm not mad. We have George Pickens. Other running backs here, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, Raheem Mostert, Javonte Williams, Tony Pollard, Zach Moss. So not bad. The other running backs that are available: Spears, Austin Eckler. Nick Chubb could be a decent investment at this point in time. I'm not going to lie to you. It all really just depends on when he returns from his injury. So maybe we just add him and we kind of just stash him for a little bit, because right now I don't think that he will be there to kick off the season. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. What else happened? We saw Deontay Johnson get selected. I was hoping that Deontay Johnson would drop to us, so maybe we could have flipped Deontay and Nick Chubb. But again, I'm not going to get too mad about that. There's other wide receivers that I like as well. Hollywood Brown on pretty much a prove-it deal, playing with Patrick Mahomes. I kind of like that situation, so we can go in that direction. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, some more running back depth. In full PPR, I probably lean Eckler a little bit, but I just don't like that situation in the backfield. I think it's going to be a full running back by committee. So I'm going to go Hollywood Brown here. I like that situation for us. Ezekiel Elliott back in Dallas, you could do worse. Question is, how much does he have left in the tank, right? But I think by far and away, he's probably the best running back option left for us right now. So probably looking there if I'm going running back, which I think I will. So potentially a starter, right? He's not going to do things of old Zeke, but I think he could still be viable for a starter a couple weeks of the year, and then once Nick Chubb returns, hopefully we have a good situation there. So let's go with Ezekiel Elliott. I like that situation for us. And then what else? TJ Hawkinson just got drafted. Okay, so another guy where maybe similar to a Nick Chubb, you think that he starts as a bench piece because of his injury at the end of the year, and you have him at a later point in the season, and then hopefully he returns like to a top 5 tight end, right? I'm looking at other craziness, nothing insane right now. At this point in time in these mock drafts, it really transitions just to a huge run on running backs, the next best available like tight ends going, and then some more wide receivers being sprinkled in. So right now we only have 3 selections left to make. As far as wide receivers are concerned, I think that there's more depth there. So I could go probably another backup tight end just in case something happens to Mark Andrews. He has had some injury issues in the past. So let's go Dallas Goedert as a depth piece. And then we will make our final 2 selections, one of which will obviously be a quarterback, and then just kind of best player available. So Brock Purdy is there. When he gets to all these guys, like I'll be honest with you, I have Aaron Rodgers ranked ahead of all of them. I do. I think a healthy Aaron Rodgers is really, really tempting. So I'm going Aaron Rodgers here. It's going to hate that pick, but everybody has their own quarterback and player rankings, so I don't really care about that. And then let's see if there's any hidden value here still at the wide receiver position. Josh Downs, potentially. Josh Palmer with the Chargers. You could do a lot worse at this point in time, honestly. He's kind of the most proven guy there. I like that situation for us. I'm going to go with Palmer, continue to add to some of that wide receiver depth. And, let's see the grade that we get. I'm guessing it's not going to be the highest because, again, they don't like Aaron Rodgers here. B minus, though, could have been a lot worse. I don't think we got docked with the Aaron Rodgers selection all too much. Again, I'm kind of biased. I really do believe in Aaron Rodgers this year. And, I think our bench has decent upside. So I think probably a grade in the B range is okay. I'm also a big believer in Garrett Wilson. We got the stack with Aaron Rodgers. I like that. We've got some high upside guys, so I like the squad, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section, whether you agree, disagree. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. And then any questions you guys might have, hit us up in the comments. We'll do our best to answer them all. In the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.